Once upon a time, in a bustling city blanketed by snow, there lived two children whose hearts were as warm as the summer sun. Their names were Gerda and Kay. They were neighbors, and their homes sat atop the same old building, connected by a little bridge of wooden planks that their families had built between their windows. In the winter, they would press their hands against the frosted window panes, drawing hearts and flowers in the condensation, dreaming of the days when the roses would bloom once more on the rooftop gardens. Gerda and Kay were inseparable. Together, they spent their days tending to the tiny rose bushes that grew in pots between their two windows. Even as the snow fell and the city grew cold, the children's laughter kept their corner of the world bright and warm. They believed nothing could ever come between them. But outside their safe haven, a strange enchantment was at work. A mysterious magic that was about to change their lives forever. Far away, in the realm of cold and silence, lived the Snow Queen. Her palace was made of the clearest ice, its walls sparkling like diamonds, its halls echoing with the sound of the wind. The Snow Queen was beautiful but heartless, her gaze colder than the deepest winter night. She ruled over all things frozen, and her power was felt in every snowflake that drifted down from the sky. One winter evening, as Kay and Gerda watched the snowflakes swirling outside their window, Kay spoke of how each flake was different. Tiny, perfect crystals shaped like stars and flowers. Gerda listened, marveling at the world's wonders. But that night, as the snowstorm raged, something terrible happened. A splinter from the wicked mirror, an ancient glass that distorted everything good and beautiful, was carried by the wind into the city. The mirror had once belonged to an evil elf, and its shards had the power to turn all they touched cold and cruel. As Kay leaned out to catch a snowflake, a tiny shard from the mirror flew into his eye, and another into his heart. Pain flashed across his face, but he quickly wiped away his tears, pretending nothing was wrong. From that moment, something changed within him. The world no longer seemed bright and beautiful. The roses looked dull, and Gerda's laughter grated on his ears. Kay grew cold, distant, and unkind. The Snow Queen was watching. One night, as Kay wandered alone through the snowy streets, her magnificent sleigh appeared before him, driven by white foxes and pulled by the northern wind. She beckoned him with a dazzling smile, and Kay, entranced, climbed aboard. The Snow Queen wrapped him in her icy embrace and whisked him away to her palace of frost and silence, far beyond the reach of anyone who loved him. When morning came, Gerda searched everywhere for her friend. She asked the neighbors, the birds, even the wind, but no one had seen Kay. Heartbroken but determined, Gerda set out on a long and perilous journey to find him. She wandered through the city, calling his name, until she reached the riverbank. There, an old boat rocked gently by the shore, and Gerda, driven by hope, climbed in and drifted downstream. Her journey had begun. Gerda's voyage took her to lands both strange and wondrous. In a beautiful garden, she met a kindly old woman who tried to ease her pain with stories and sweet fruit. But Gerda never forgot her quest. The roses in the woman's garden reminded her of Kay, and she wept so bitterly that the spell holding her there was broken. The flowers whispered to her, telling her that Kay was not beneath the earth, but far away, captured by the Snow Queen. Onward Gerda traveled, her heart filled with courage. She crossed fields of golden wheat, where she met a wise crow who offered to help. The crow led her to a grand palace, where a prince and princess lived. Gerda hoped that perhaps Kay was there, but the kind young royals, moved by her story, could only offer her food, warm clothes, and a golden carriage to continue her search. Through deep, dark forests Gerda journeyed, where the trees whispered secrets, and the snow fell heavier than ever. In the shadows, she was captured by a band of robbers, fierce and wild. They brought her to their camp, where she met a little robber girl with sharp eyes and a big heart. The robber girl took a liking to Gerda and, moved by her determination, set her free in the company of a reindeer who knew the way to the Snow Queen's palace. Across the frozen tundra, Gerda rode, clutching the reindeer's warm fur as the icy wind howled around them. Together, they crossed the land of the Lapps and the Finns, where wise women gave Gerda advice and wrapped her in protective charms. They told her that she possessed all the power she needed within her own loving heart. At last, after a journey of 1,000 trials, Gerda reached the Snow Queen's palace, a vast, glittering fortress of ice and silence. The halls were empty and cold, the air so frigid that even the stars seemed to shiver. In the great throne room, Kay sat alone, hunched over a puzzle made of shards of ice. The Snow Queen had told him that if he could piece together the word eternity, she would set him free. But Kay's heart was frozen, and his mind was clouded by the mirror's evil spell. Gerda entered the hall, her breath hanging in the air like silver mist. She called to Kay, but he did not respond. His eyes were empty, his face pale as snow. Desperate, Gerda flung her arms around him and wept. Her warm tears fell onto Kay's chest, melting the shard of glass that had frozen his heart. Her love thawed the ice, and as her tears touched his face, the splinter in his eye dissolved away. Slowly, Kay's eyes cleared. He blinked, and for the first time in so long, he saw Gerda standing before him, her face filled with love and hope. The spell was broken. Kay recognized her, and together they wept with joy. The warmth of their friendship melted the ice around them, and the palace began to thaw. The Snow Queen's power was broken by the force of Gerda's love and courage. Hand in hand, Gerda and Kay fled the palace. The reindeer was waiting for them, and together they traveled home. On their journey, they passed through lands now glowing with the light of spring. The snow melted, the rivers flowed, and the world bloomed anew. The friends who had aided Gerda on her quest rejoiced at their return, and the children gave thanks to all who had helped them. At last, Gerda and Kay reached the city. Their rooftop garden was alive with roses, their homes filled with warmth and laughter. They had grown wiser, braver, and stronger. Though they had faced darkness and despair, their love and friendship had conquered the coldest winter. And so, with hearts full of gratitude, they lived ever after, remembering always that even the iciest spell can be broken by the warmth of a loving heart. And so ends the tale of the Snow Queen, a story of courage, love, and the power of goodness to overcome the coldest of enchantments. But the story lingers, for the journey of Gerda and Kay is more than just an adventure through snowy lands and icy palaces. It is a story about the ways in which love, determination, and innocence can triumph over cruelty and despair. The splinters of the wicked mirror remind us that sometimes pain and bitterness can cloud our vision, making the world seem dark and unkind. But with the help of a caring friend, with the persistence of hope, even the deepest wounds can heal. Gerda, though only a child, embodied a courage that many grown hearts might envy. She faced the unknown, braved robbers and wild forests, endured hunger and cold, all for the sake of her friend. Along the way, she encountered those who tried to distract her from her quest, like the old woman in the garden, who offered comfort, but tried to make her forget. But the memory of her love for Kay, and the promise they had made to always be together, kept Gerda on her path. The helpers Gerda met along the way, the wise crow, the kindly prince and princess, the wild but generous robber girl, the gentle reindeer, and the insightful women of the north, each played their part in her journey. They gave what they could, be it guidance, shelter, gifts, or courage. In this way, the story reminds us that kindness begets kindness, and that those who help others on their journey are part of the triumph over darkness. The Snow Queen herself remains a mysterious figure, beautiful, aloof, and cold. She represents those forces in the world that would freeze our hearts, make us forget joy, and turn us away from one another. But her power, though great, is not absolute. Even the coldest spell can be undone by warmth, by compassion, by the tears of true love. When Gerda's tears thawed the ice in Kay's heart, it was not magic in the usual sense. It was the magic of love, the oldest and most powerful force in the world. It was the reminder that, though we may sometimes lose our way or become trapped by sorrow, there is always hope for redemption. There is always a way back, if only we have someone who cares enough to find us. As spring returned and the roses bloomed once more on the rooftop gardens, Gerda and Kay found that they were no longer children, but wiser and more compassionate for all they had endured. The world, too, seemed brighter. filled with the promise of renewal and the certainty that, even after the harshest winter, warmth and light will come again. So, as you listen to the story of the Snow Queen, remember the lessons it holds. Cherish your friends, for their love may one day guide you home. Face your challenges with courage, for even the smallest heart can overcome great darkness. And never lose hope, for even when the world grows cold, the promise of spring is never far away. As the sun rises over the city, melting the last of the winter's snow, Gerda and Kay sit together among the roses. They smile at one another, remembering all that has passed. The journey was hard, but it led them home. And in their hearts, they know this truth: love is the greatest magic of all. Thus, from the snowy kingdom of the north to the blooming gardens of home, the tale of the Snow Queen and the brave Gerda will live on, an everlasting reminder that no winter, however long or cold, can last forever. For with courage, friendship, and love, we can all find our way back to the light.